Alright, so we're going to make a fraction kit. We're going to start doing fractions more when we meet, and hopefully once we're back together we can continue with them. I'm going to post a lot of YouTube videos to kind of go over the basics of fractions. We're going to do a lot all together. I'm not really going to leave you guys with new material to do on your own. It's more going to be when we meet at those times, and we'll go through practice problems, and then you might have a couple to do on your own after we meet for our 30 minutes on Zoom. Before we meet for our first day, I do want you guys to have a fraction kit. That's what we're going to make today. This is my first time trying this out with this kind of technology, so we'll see how it goes. If at any point you need to pause it, go ahead and pause the video, grab your materials, or if I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause after a step, and then you can press play once you're ready to do it again with us. So, these are your supplies you're going to need. You're going to need 5 sheets of paper. I have my 5 sheets. They're different colors. If you don't have different colors, that is okay. You can have plain paper, and you'll just need 5 different colored markers, and you'll outline each one once we get to that point. But I will show you when we get there. You're going to need scissors, a ruler, or something to make a straight line. If a ruler is available, that is the best, because I'm going to make them certain sizes. You don't have to make them that size. And a marker, pen, pencil, whatever you have. Alright, so if you need to pause, go ahead and pause this. I'm going to keep talking though, so if you already have your supplies, you're good to go, then you can keep watching. If you need to go grab them, and then come back and continue the video. Okay, so I'm going to take my first sheet of paper. I'm going to put it lengthwise, so it's long here, okay? There we go. You're going to take your ruler. You're going to deal with the inches side. Any way to measure inches. If you don't have something to measure inches, do your best to guess what 3 inches would be about. Any size what it would be. If I measure it, I'm going to take it from the side, line it up at the top, and go ahead and measure 3 inches down and make a dash to make it the right length. So I'm going to go to the other side of my paper, line it up, measure 3 inches down, and make a dash. Okay. Once you have your 2 dashes, you are going to connect your 2 dashes. Make sure you guys can see this. It's a little blurry. There we go. So you're going to connect your 2 dashes and make a straight line across. Okay. You're going to do this on all 5 sheets of paper. If you don't have 5 sheets of paper, what you are going to do instead, if you just have white paper, is where this is outlined, I want you to take a marker and outline each section in a different color. So, if it's white paper, I'm going to outline maybe this is red. So I'm going to make a red rectangle along the outside so that this is the red sheet of paper. This is kind of blurry. Maybe. Okay. Once you have all 5 of yours done, you are then going to cut them out on that line. Okay, so I'm going to cut where my line is. Now, the bottom of that paper is scrap paper now. You will not be using that anymore. This is something that we are going to keep for a while, so we're not just wasting paper. You're going to have 5 sections that all look this size. So go ahead right now and make your 5 sections. I'm going to make them on here, so if you want to see me go through them all, you can. I'm going to go as quickly as I can. Mark 3 inches. Mark 3 inches. If you have your first one, you can always just line it up and cut the same size on your next few. Remember, if you are using white paper, just outline each section in a different color so that it is clear that they are different colors. Oops. Just going through, making all of them. They don't have to be perfect. I messed that one up a little bit, but that's okay. The reason behind this is so that we can start looking at fractions as equivalents. We are going to be using the terminology of denominator and numerator a lot, because when you add and subtract fractions, you are not able to add and subtract them until you have a common denominator, meaning that the bottom number of both fractions is the same. If it is not, you can change it, which will be the first thing we're going to start working on. Once you find out how to change common denominators, everything else is very easy. So this is the hardest part. Using the visuals helps a lot of us. Alright, so I have my 5 done. I can put my ruler to the side. I will not need it anymore. Make sure you have your 5 cut out. You're only keeping the top 3-inch section. The bottom bigger part you can get rid of. Or use it for some other craft later on. Remember, if this is too fast for you, go ahead and press pause. Alright, so I now have 5 sheets of paper, all the same size. To make sure they're the same size, put them all together, line them up, and you should not see very much overlap, okay? We're going to use this to make a fraction kit. A fraction kit is something that shows similar fractions using different fractions to make them up. This is very blurry today, guys. There we go. Alright, so we are going to take our first fraction. The first one here. This is what our whole fraction kit will be. So we're going to classify this as one whole. This is our whole. This is one full thing. If I'm dealing with pizzas, which you are a lot for fractions, this would be a full pizza. So I want you to label it as one whole. Okay? Before we move on from the one whole, if we want to make our whole a fraction, one whole is the same thing as 1. Okay? But that's not a fraction. That has one number. In a fraction, you have a numerator and you have a denominator, so we need to make our numerator. We have one piece. There's one piece of yellow right here. So we have one piece out of our total, which would be one piece. So I can make one the same thing as 1 over 1. Okay? What you're going to do next, you're going to keep that up here. You're going to take your next color, or if it's the same white paper, it's just outlined in a different color. Okay, I'm going to fold this sheet corner to corner and crease it. Okay, I'm going to crease it here. So I have my one whole, I crease this. I'm going to open it up. Make sure you still have your scissors. I'm going to open it up, and wherever my crease is, I am going to cut this where the crease is. Now, I have 2 pieces that if I put together, they equal my whole. So, I have how many pieces here? That would be my denominator. The number of pieces that make up your whole. 2 pieces make this. Now, this is how much of my whole? Well, this is 1 of my 2. So it's going to be 1/2 and 1/2. Okay? So we're starting with the basic fractions. You can make yours a little nicer than mine. Alright, so some of you might see where we're going here. My one whole, and I have 1/2. I am going to take my next sheet of paper. I am going to fold it. Now it's 1/2. It's the same size as my green. What happens when I fold it side to side again? Okay, so I creased it the first time. Then from here, I creased it one more. You're going to open it up and cut at your creases. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause. Now, once you cut at your creases, you should have 4 pieces. Now, we took our half and we cut that in half again. So, it's still, if I put it on top, it equals my entire whole. My denominator is how many pieces make up a whole. So, here I have 4 pieces that make up a whole. But this is only one of those pieces. So, each of these is 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. Okay, so from here we have 1/4, a half, and a whole. We can now see equivalence. If any of these two equal something else, that means they are the same. So 2 1/4 is the exact same as a 1/2. 4 4ths, all 4 of them is the same as 2 halves or 1 whole. These are what we call equivalents, okay? Now, if you get where we're going, we're going to keep on moving along. Kind of get my hole out of there so you guys can see what we're doing. Now, these are all the same size. Before, I folded it in half. Now, that's the size of my green. That would be a half. Then, last time I folded it in half again, which is a 1/4. And if you see where we're going to fold it in half again. Now, they're getting pretty small. Okay, so this is part of a 1/4. I have folded it 1, 2, 3 times. And when I open it up, I should see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces all together. So there are 8 pieces here. You're again going to cut on the crease. So go ahead and pause if you need to. Now, if I line all of these up, I should have 8 here. Okay. My 8 pieces equal 1 whole. They also equal 2 halves, and they also equal 4 4ths. Now, my denominator is how many pieces I have. I have 8 pieces, so they all would be over 8, and these all are 1 of my 8th pieces. 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8. Okay? Now you can keep going. If you notice, each time I'm doubling it. If I double 1, I get 2. If I double 2, I get 4. If I double 4, I get 8. If I double 8, I would get 16. We are not going to make 16 tiny little pieces. You can if you would like to, if you have an extra sheet. We have 1 sheet left. We are going to look more in depth at our fraction kit. So I bring them down. If I look at the denominators here, I want you to make a space between your 4ths and your halves. If I put a piece here, what would my denominator of these pieces be? What would this be? Think about my denominator. Take a second and think. Okay. If you notice, if I use my counting numbers, 2, blank, 4, what comes between would be thirds. Now, to make a third, this is where it gets a little tricky. You can't just fold in half. I want you to do your best to make this into 3 equal pieces. One way to do it is to kind of see if I fold it partially, and then I'm going to fold it back. You should have this weird little shape here. If I crease it down, I should have 3 equal pieces. If it's not perfect, that is okay. Go ahead and cut into your 3 equal pieces. If after this, we'll be done with the scissors. So if you need to put them away, you can. We are almost done here. We would have done this in class anyways, so it's not like you guys are doing anything extra or you're missing anything, which is very nice. We just kind of are going to start fractions a little earlier because it might take a little bit longer if we're only meeting once a week. We're going to do these supplemental videos the other days. Okay, so in between these would be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Now this shows us that we can make any denominator a fraction. If I want to go after fourths, between fourths and eighths, there is fifths, there is sixths, there is sevenths, there is ninths. If I go after eighths, there is all these different fractions. As long as they are whole numbers, we can make them into a fraction. Okay. You are going to use this fraction kit on some things that I'm going to give you guys tonight. So if you have a blank sheet of paper, that would be wonderful to get out now. Do not lose these, guys. Make sure you bring them when we meet on Zoom on Monday, okay? So if you go back to your blank sheet of paper, you don't have to have all this written out, but I'm going to give you a couple problems to try tonight. Using your fraction kit. What I mean by using your fraction kit is if I say, give me anything that equals 1/2, okay? If I'm using a half, then I would get a half out here, and I would find anything that fits together that also equals a half. So if I put 2/4 together, that is a half. If you could see it. Maybe. Sorry, guys. The lighting in my house is not working with this camera. So you can see that 2/4 equal a half. I could also find out how many eighths I could put on there. Okay? What you are going to do before we meet is you are going to say 1/2 equals anything else that equals a half. I just gave you one. 2/4 equal a half. There's other ones. I also want you to find what 1/4 equals. And I want you to find what 1/1. What other things equal 1/1? You can get creative in this. Maybe you want to start using different fractions, put them together. So maybe if I'm using a whole, maybe I'm saying that it equals a half. But then I can also put a fourth. Sorry, let me move this so you guys can kind of see what I'm saying. If I have my whole here, I can say that equals a half plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. If that confuses you, stick to the basics. If you are ahead of the game, try and play around with the different things. If you have a paper clip anywhere at home, if you have like a Ziploc baggie, anything where you can put all these pieces in so you do not lose them. Your eighths are pretty small. If you lose one of your eighths, now we don't have a whole. We only have 7/8. So when we meet on Thursday at 10 o'clock, I want you to come with your fraction kit. I want you to come with your answers to these 3 questions. And I want you to come with your packet if you have any questions that you were given on that, because we're going to start that. And then we're going to kind of go over more equivalent fractions and how we get from one to the next. Alright, if you have any questions, guys, please let me know. If for some reason you don't have supplies at home to make this, remember, you can use lined paper, you can use scrap paper, so if you have extra paper in one of those notebooks or something, use the back of it, that's completely fine. If you don't have different colored markers at home, use, just do different designs along the edges, so maybe for like a half, I would do like squigglies, okay? Whatever it is that is best for you. Alright, see you guys on Thursday.